Good morning, Martin here. My wife and I are on a two-night camping trip. It's a kind of a shakeout trip to test out some new gear. It's the middle of March and the snow's just about all melted, and the temperatures are quite a bit milder. And what we wanted to test out was our sleeping arrangement and this new tent and a new sleeping bag. The tent is a Marmot four-season tent. Model is Thor, and seems to have held up pretty well. The vents moisture fairly well. There's a lot of ways to sort of get moisture out of the tent, and it's really quite bomb-proof. There's a lot of anchor points, so we're pretty happy with the tent. But we were cold last night, and it was because of our bedding arrangement. The tent, the sleeping bag that my wife was trying out was this new Marmot Never Summer sleeping bag. I've used it igloo camping a few occasions now, and I was never cold. I was quite comfortable. But she was cold in it last night, and she'd slept in an igloo in it once before, but had an overbag, and she was comfortable with it. But the reason we were cold last night was because of something I did in our bedding arrangement, or rather something I neglected to do. I didn't insulate us properly from the ground. So I want to talk a little bit about what we did right and what we did wrong. Underneath the tent, I have a small plastic sheet. That's just to protect the bottom of the tent, to prevent some moisture from getting up. Sometimes I'll use a ground sheet like this under the tent, or sometimes inside the tent. This time, because it was snow and I wanted to protect the bottom of the tent from branches poking through, I put it under the tent. Within the tent, my first layer was this emergency blanket. It cost about $16. I use it for a lot of different things. It makes a good subfloor inside the tent. This is plastic coating on one side, and it's got this aluminum reflective coating on the upper side that reflects heat back at you. Then we have our thermarest pads, and then the sleeping bag. Normally, if I was igloo camping or winter camping, I would bring one other layer, and that other layer would be a closed-cell foam mattress, you know, the cheap kind that you get at Canadian Tire or a hardware store or Walmart. That's normally what I would use under the thermarest on top of this emergency blanket. I didn't this time because we were getting a little gear heavy, and I thought, you know, they're kind of bulky. I think we might be able to do without them, but that was a mistake on my part. Shouldn't have done that. We were conducting heat to the ground, and it was making us cold. What was happening was when we went to bed, we were warm, but at around 11:30 at night, we both started feeling cold. And what was happening was when you're in a sleeping bag, at your heaviest points, you are compressing the bottom of the bag. So at your buttocks and your shoulders, for instance, your upper back, you're compressing the fill in the bag, and you're coming into closer contact with what's beneath you. In this case, snow, which is where our tent is pitched. And so we were getting those really cold spots, and because we were conducting heat out, and heat loss through conduction is very fast, we were getting colder and colder. And so we decided we need to remedy that. So I took a couple of wool garments. I have a heavy wool shirt that I'm wearing here, and I had a lighter wool shirt underneath, and that I had bundled up as my pillows. I took those out of my pillow. I gave her the heavy one. I kept the light one for myself, and I put those inside our sleeping bags in those spots where we were cold. And that helped us for a while. We warmed up quite a bit, but eventually we could feel the cold leaching out of us again. So we still weren't insulated enough from the ground. So shortly after that, I climbed out of the tent, just in my base layer, my boots, my headlamp, and my emergency ditch kit, and I ran across the camp to where I had strung up our food bag. I knew we were going to need to eat if we were going to be able to sleep comfortably. We needed more food. We needed to keep the furnace going. So I got the bag and ran back, and on the way back through camp, I picked up two of these. These are chairs. This is just thermal foil duct insulation that you get at a hardware store. Whenever we go snowshoeing or winter camping, we bring these with us. They make excellent chairs, so you can sit directly on snow or logs or cold rocks or anything like that, and it reflects the heat back at you. It's very effective. I brought them back, and they were just long enough that we were able to put them underneath us and keep us warm. My wife, who's smarter than I am, put it under her thermarest bag, just at the point, from the buttocks to the shoulder, to keep herself warm. And between that and the wool layers that she had inside the sleeping bag, she was fine. She slept the rest of the night without a problem. I wasn't quite so smart. I took mine and I thought, oh, I'll try and put it inside my sleeping bag, under that wool layer. So there'll be the sleeping bag underneath, there'll be this, there'll be my wool layer, and then me on top, and the wool layer will sort of keep me off of this. And that didn't work as well. I was warm at first for quite a long time, maybe a couple of hours, but then I woke and I had the strangest sensation in my back. I felt a kind of prickly pins and needles sensation all over my back, and it felt both hot and cold at the same time. I couldn't decide if I was hot or cold. So I realized I'm probably sweating because of this. It's probably inhibiting my sweat. And so I climbed out of my bag a little bit and felt under my base layer, and sure enough, I was a little damp there. So that's what was happening. So I took this out and I, like she did, put it under my bag, and I was fine. I was totally warm after that. We both slept the rest of the night without a problem. We needed more insulation between us and the ground, and we needed more food. So we learned a couple of things. Bring the closed cell foam if you're sleeping on snow. It doesn't matter how mild the nights get and what kind of tent you've got and what kind of sleeping bag you get. You need to put some more distance between you and the snow. And you need to eat. We should have had more snacks with us just before bed than we did. We didn't have enough. Okay. Hope you learned something. We did. So, middle of March, the big meltdown, and you can probably hear the thunder in the background. We're leaving in a rainstorm. That's what late winter camping and early spring camping is like. In winter you don't get rainstorms like this, or you very, very seldom do. So we were just shooting a short video this morning in our tent, getting ready to go, when we started hearing thunder, and it was getting louder and closer all the time. And we started packing stuff up, and before we had the tent down, it had started raining. But it all worked out because, as is our usual practice whenever we're out here, as soon as we arrive at camp, the first thing we do as part of making camp is set up the tarp. We're using just I think it's an 8x10 sil nylon tarp by Integral Designs, and we string it up first when we arrive at camp, and it's the last thing we take down when we break camp. This morning as we were preparing to leave and breaking camp, my wife said, well, maybe we should take the tarp down now. And out of principle I said, no, we don't want to do that. We always want to take it down last, just as a matter of sort of good practice. And it paid off this time because sure enough, we had to throw all our unpacked gear under the tarp in a hurry, pack up our gear, get into our rain gear, and get ready to bug out. So the last thing we're going to do now that we're all packed up and in our rain gear, is pack up this lovely tarp that's kept us dry, and we're just going to hike out of here in the pouring rain. Y'all ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. Bye.